You probably don't know my name. That's fine. I've never cared much about the spotlight. I'm the guy behind the tracks, the beats, the hooks that make other people famous. And for a while, that was enough. I thought building something with someone you love would mean sharing the credit, the grind, the dreams. But not every stage is built for two. This isn't a story about fame. It's about what people will trade for it, and what happens when the person behind the curtain finally decides to step forward. Her name's Kaia. That's the only name she uses now, stage name and all. When I met her, she was waiting tables and singing backup vocals in a cover band at a dive bar off Wilshire. She had a voice that cracked glass and made people shut up mid-chew. And she knew it. That's what scared me first. Not the voice, her certainty. The way she sang like the world already owed her something. I write music. Beats, melodies, full tracks. You've probably heard some of my stuff and never known it, because I'm not in the spotlight. I'm the guy who sends a file at 2 a.m. and makes a note that the bridge needs space. The guy who gets shout-outs and production credits, if I'm lucky. Kaia said she loved that about me. Said it made me real. Said it was sexy that I didn't care about attention. I believed her. We got married a year after she moved in. She had this fire in her, this hunger I mistook for passion. I fed it with my contacts, my demos, my time. She said we were a team. And for a while, I thought we were. But then came the first meeting she didn't tell me about. Some session with a vocal coach. Except when I called the studio, no one had her name on the books. She brushed it off, said they do things informally sometimes. I let it go. Then she started getting invites to showcases. Small stuff. Open mics, curated sets in lounge venues. Nothing major, but promising. She'd ask for help with her set lists, then ignore every suggestion. Said I was too technical, that I didn't understand the vibe she was going for. One night, she came home humming something unfamiliar. I asked about it. Oh, just a little riff my friend Eli laid down in the studio. He's got good instincts, she said, flopping on the couch like nothing happened. Eli? I asked. She shrugged. New guy? We jam sometimes. That's when it clicked. The cold space in our bed. The phone that never rang around me. The way she stopped tagging me in anything online. Her Instagram was all filtered lights, cryptic captions, and solo shots angled just right. I was fading from her story like a bad track in post-production. I could have confronted her then. Demanded honesty. Instead, I waited. Because if there's one thing years in the music industry taught me, it's that the truth always leaks. And when it does, it's loud. The real confirmation came 2 weeks later. My buddy Marcus, producer at a mid-tier label, called me after a showcase in Silver Lake. Hey man, he said, hesitant. Just wanted to say Kaia's set was solid. Didn't know she was working with Tanner now. I froze. Tanner who? You know? That indie kid from Portland. Long hair, plays synth live. She said they've been collaborating for months. I said nothing. Marcus exhaled. Sorry man. I thought you were still writing her stuff. I was. Until I wasn't. That night, Kaia came home drunk on attention. Talking fast, eyes wild. They loved me, she said. Tanner says we should record a full set together. Maybe do some small tour dates. Isn't that crazy? I looked at her. Really looked. She didn't even notice the silence. Hey, I asked finally. You still want me to finish that track for your acoustic version? She blinked. Oh, no, it's okay. Tanner's got a version he's working on. More modern. I nodded. Cool. That was it. She didn't say sorry. Didn't say thank you. Just walked off, already texting someone else. That night I sat in the dark, lit only by the glow of my monitors, and pulled up every beat, every demo, every project file I'd ever let her touch. Then I started making calls. Not angry calls. Not revenge calls. Just honest conversations. Because see, Kaia didn't know how this business really works. She thought it was about talent and sparkle. But music, real music, is community. Respect. Quiet loyalty built over years. And she'd spent every ounce of goodwill I gave her like it was free money. I didn't have to smear her. I just had to stop vouching for her. And make sure the right people saw what she really was. The curtain hadn't dropped yet. But the lights were starting to dim. And Kaia? She was too busy posing under them to notice. The first show that got canceled was in Atlanta. Nothing huge, just a showcase at a mid-sized venue she'd been bragging about for weeks. This is the one, she'd said, twirling in the kitchen with a glass of wine, her voice syrupy. Tanner says if we crush this, we might get looked at by some real labels. I just nodded and kissed her temple like I believed it too. She got the email the night before the flight. I watched her face drop as she read it. Postponed, she muttered. They said something about budget issues. She didn't look at me, but I saw the muscle in her jaw twitch. That was the first crack. I didn't say a word, just stirred my coffee and changed the subject. That's the thing about silence. People underestimate how much it can hold. And mine was full of details. I knew what venues she'd reached out to. I knew who her little circle was trying to impress. I also knew that Tanner, her new flame, had a habit of making promises his performances couldn't back up. He was good-looking, sure. Smooth. Tall, with a voice that sounded like it smoked clove cigarettes. But talent? Inconsistent. And the moment I stopped lifting the curtain behind her, people started seeing just how fragile the stage really was. One by one, the calls dried up. A booking in Nashville fell through next. Then a brand collab she'd been chasing suddenly went dark. It's weird, she told me, pacing the apartment. No one's answering. Even people who were excited a week ago. Maybe it's a slow season, I offered casual. Or maybe something's off, she said, chewing a thumbnail. Maybe Tanner messed something up. I stayed quiet. Let her sit in that suspicion. She wanted Tanner, she got him. But she didn't realize he came with baggage and no lifeboat. That week, I bumped into Ramon at a mixer. He's a low-key manager with good ears and better instincts. You still working with that Kaia girl? He asked. Not anymore, I said. Too many cooks in her kitchen these days. He smirked. Yeah, word is she's getting messy. You were the only reason folks gave her a chance. That's kind of you to say, I replied. Not kind, just true. I went home that night feeling more peaceful than I had in months. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd used my name to open doors, thinking they'd stay open forever. But doors don't hold for people who burn the floor behind them. A few days later, I caught her on the phone in the bathroom. Door cracked just enough. I don't know what's happening, okay, she hissed. They just keep ghosting. Maybe it's because of you, Tanner. You said you had the connects. A pause. Then her voice again, higher. Don't hang up. Tanner, don't, click. Silence. She didn't come out for an hour. When she did, she was all pout and perfume. Want to go out tonight? She asked, wrapping her arms around my neck like old times. You and me? Just like we used to. Sure, I said. Let me finish this loop first. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and disappeared into the bedroom. But her timing was off. Her rhythm, wrong. Like she was trying to sing in someone else's key. That night, over drinks, she told me she felt like the world was shifting. That maybe she needed to reset her image. I nodded. Maybe you need to be alone for a bit. Find your sound again. You think I'm losing myself? I think you're chasing too many echoes. She frowned. You always talk in riddles now. Maybe you just stopped listening. We didn't sleep in the same bed that night. A week passed. Then two. The tension in the apartment had a tempo of its own. Her phone barely lit up anymore. No rehearsal invites. No venue confirmations. And Tanner? Gone. He blocked her on everything. I watched her spiral quietly, trying to keep up appearances online while inside she unraveled. Her DMs were dry. Her stories repetitive. She even asked me, if I'd help her remix an old track. Maybe a stripped-down version, she suggested, hope flickering. Like, just voice and piano? You always said my voice worked best that way. I looked at her for a long second. You remember what you said the night you cut me out of your last EP? She blinked. What? You said I made things too flat. That your sound needed more drama. That you had moved beyond basic beats. Her eyes dropped. I was trying to find myself. Looks like you did, I said, standing up. Good luck with her. She followed me down the hall, barefoot. Wait, what's that supposed to mean? I didn't answer. Just shut the door behind me and went to the studio. That was the night I wrote the track that changed everything for me. A raw, haunting progression with no vocals. Just grief and resolve poured into sound. I didn't name it after her. I didn't need to. But people felt it. A month later, it sold to a label for sync licensing on an indie film. The director said it sounded like Betrayal soaked in elegance. Fitting. Kaia never asked me about the song. She probably heard it and didn't recognize it came from me. That's fine. It wasn't hers to understand. She thought the silence meant I'd given up. That she'd outgrown me, outmaneuvered me. But I was never in a race. I was building. Quietly. And now, the only sound left in her world was the echo of everything she'd destroyed to chase a spotlight that was never hers to hold. By the time her final sponsor pulled out, she was living in denial so thick you could scrape it off the walls. The deal was for a small lifestyle brand, organic cosmetics, or some nonsense she never actually used. But they liked her look, the voice, the story. From waitress to rising star, she used to say, like it was a tagline. But rising stars don't rise alone. They ride currents. And when I pulled mine away, she just floated, silent, still, and unaware she was already falling. She came to me the morning she got the email. No makeup, oversized hoodie, hair tied up like she hadn't slept. She handed me her phone. "Read this," she said. I read it. Corporate, cold, polite. "Due to unforeseen branding misalignments, we've decided to discontinue our partnership. We wish Kaia all the best in her future artistic endeavors." Translation: someone finally realized she wasn't who she pretended to be. "I don't get it," she whispered. "They begged me for a shoot 2 months ago. Maybe your vibe changed," I said, sipping coffee. "My vibe," she snapped. "What does that even mean? You tell me. You've spent the last year reinventing yourself every week." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "I thought you supported me." I set the cup down. I did, right up until the moment I stopped recognizing the woman I married. There was no yelling, just a long, tense pause between us, heavy with everything unspoken. She stormed out and didn't come back until late that night. I pretended to sleep. She pretended not to cry. The next morning, she started deleting photos from her Instagram. At first, just the ones with Tanner. Then ones from gigs. Then anything remotely celebratory. It was like watching someone erase their own history in real time. Like she thought if she wiped the slate, it would all come back. But nothing did. And that's when she did something desperate. She released a live acoustic video. It was just her, a stool, and a single mic in our living room. No filters, no edits. Her caption read, "Back to my roots. Just me, raw and real. Thank you to those still listening." I didn't say anything. She tagged a dozen producers, most of whom I knew personally. I called none of them. They didn't reach out either. The video got a few hundred views, then stalled. No comments. No shares. Dead air. She paced the kitchen that night, barefoot and furious. I don't get it. I've never sounded more real. More honest. Where is everybody? I leaned against the doorframe. You're asking the wrong question. She spun. What's the right one then? Why are you only being honest now? Her jaw clenched. So you're still punishing me. I'm not punishing you. I just stopped saving you. She stared at me like I was some stranger who broke in and wore her husband's face. Then she said it. You're just mad I outgrew you. I smiled. Not cruelly. Just sadly. You didn't outgrow me. You discarded me. There's a difference. She went quiet after that. Days passed. Then she started making calls. I could hear her rehearsing lines in the hallway before dialing. Hey, just circling back. Wanted to see if you're still down to collab. Click. Hey, I know it's been a minute, but I've got a stripped back sound I think you'd love. Click. It became a rhythm of failure, like trying to sing over static. And slowly, I could feel her turning back toward me. But not for love. For survival. Do you think we could write together again? She asked one morning, her tone fragile. I looked at her, really looked. The girl who used to fill rooms with fire now looked like she was trapped in the ashes. I don't think so, I said quietly. Why not? Because you never really heard me when it mattered. She didn't reply, but I knew she understood. That week, she ran into her ex. The one before me. I only knew because I saw his name pop up on her phone. She was sitting on the couch, and the screen lit up. She didn't flinch. She just stared at it for a while, then silenced the call. Later, she left for a few hours. Came back smelling like his cologne. Didn't say a word. Neither did I. Because some truths speak louder when left untouched. The next day, I got a call from Jenna, one of the more influential curators in the indie space. Hey, just wanted to say thanks for the heads up a few months ago, she said. We dodged a bullet with that girl. What happened? She tried to backdoor a gig with one of my artists, using your name. Claimed you were consulting her on a new EP. Really? Yeah. I figured it was a lie, but I wanted to be sure. I laughed. Safe bet. After we hung up, I sat for a while, staring at the keyboard in my studio. Then I opened a new project. No title, just a low, pulsing beat, a slow build. And in that sound, I poured the truth. Not everything broken deserves to be repaired. That night, she asked if I wanted to order Thai like old times. I said no. I wasn't hungry. She offered to run me through some lyrics. I said I was busy. And finally, as she stood in the doorway of my studio, she asked, Are you leaving me? I looked up. I already have. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, stunned by the silence she'd once relied on. And that silence? It was the only honest thing left between us. She stopped singing around the house. That was the first real sign something inside her had cracked. No humming while she made coffee. No warm-ups echoing through the bathroom door. It was as if the voice she built her whole identity around had vanished. Or maybe she'd just stopped believing it mattered. I still worked out of my home studio, headphones on, keys clicking, loops forming. She'd walk past my door sometimes and pause like she wanted to say something. But she never did. Not anymore. She'd already said too much without meaning it, and not enough when it counted. Then one Friday afternoon, I got a message from Elijah Reese, a session drummer I'd worked with years ago who'd gone on to score a few off-Broadway pieces. He wanted to buy one of my atmospheric loops for a dance showcase. "This track's haunting," he said. "Feels like something left unsaid. Funny how pain has a sound all its own, even when you don't name it." I sent the file. He wired the fee within the hour. Kaia watched from across the room, silent. I knew she heard the email ping. Knew she watched my expression shift when I read the message. She said nothing, but I caught that flicker in her eye, a mixture of envy and fear. Envy that my music was still moving without her. Fear that she had nowhere left to go. The next week, I came home to find her packing up her equipment. The mic she used in every video. The ring light. Even the chair she'd bought from a secondhand store and called her performance throne. It all went into boxes. She said she needed a change of scenery, that LA was too saturated and everyone's fake. I didn't argue. She wanted a new start. Let her find it. But I knew she wasn't going far. She didn't have the money, or the network, or the heart. Turns out she moved in with her cousin across town. A spare bedroom in a cramped condo with thin walls and bad lighting. I heard about it from a mutual acquaintance who ran into her at a pharmacy. Said Kaia looked thinner, quieter, like someone waiting for something to come back. She tried busking one weekend, set up with a borrowed guitar in a subway tunnel downtown. She posted a short video of herself singing into the reverb of footsteps and train sounds. Her voice was shaky, but not terrible. The caption read, "Starting from the ground again." Only a few people liked it. One comment said, "She's still around?" That stung, I bet. Meanwhile, I was producing again. More than ever, actually. Word had gotten around that I was free of distractions. Artists reached out, some local, some remote. They didn't ask about her. They didn't have to. My work spoke loud enough. It always had. Now, finally, no one was talking over it. But then came the night she showed up at my door. It was raining, of course. These things always happen when the sky wants to make a point. She looked like hell, drenched, shivering in a hoodie that wasn't even hers. Eyes tired. No makeup. No filter. Just the raw version of Kaia she never let anyone see. I opened the door and stepped aside. She didn't speak for the first minute. Just stood in the entryway, dripping on the hardwood. "Something wrong?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "I don't know who I am anymore." I waited. She looked at me, searching for something she'd burned too long ago. You ever feel like you made a series of tiny wrong turns and suddenly woke up in a completely different life? I didn't answer. She wasn't asking a question. She was confessing. "I used to think I needed more," she said. "More shows. More followers. More people calling my name. I thought I was meant for something bigger." "Were you?" I asked, not unkindly. She looked down. "I don't know. I wanted to be great. You wanted to be seen." She flinched, just a little. "Then, isn't that the same thing?" "No," I said. "It's not." She ran a hand through her hair, soaked and stringy. "I lost everything." I looked her in the eye. "You threw it away." She swallowed hard, nodding. "Yeah, I guess I did." We stood there for a long beat, the rain tapping soft rhythms against the window. "I'm not here to beg," she said finally. "I just needed to face the only person who ever really believed in me. To say sorry." I nodded. That was it. No forgiveness speech. No melodrama. Just that. And it was enough. But not enough to fix anything. "You should head home," I said. "It's late." She hesitated, eyes glistening. "Can I at least sit for a bit?" "No," I said gently. "You already did all your sitting while I carried everything." That hit her like a verse she didn't expect. She nodded again, stepped back, and walked into the rain without another word. I closed the door, locked it, turned off the porch light. In the morning, I wrote a new track. Something bright, something clean, something free. It didn't sound like her. And that's how I knew it was ready. The track I wrote that morning was different. It had hope in it. Not the desperate kind Kaia used to chase. No glittering high notes begging for applause. But the kind that settles in your bones when you know you've survived something that tried to hollow you out. I named it Weathered, and within a week, it was picked up by a well-known indie artist from Seattle. She called it the soul of something real. Funny how that word kept showing up, real. Something Kaia had always claimed to be chasing, but never stopped acting through. She didn't come back after that night in the rain. No more surprise visits, no texts, no just wanted to talk, voice notes. But I heard about her. It's hard not to in this city, especially when you've got ears in every studio and every backroom session. Word was, Kaia tried pitching a solo acoustic EP to a tiny local label. They passed. Politely, but firmly. Not sure she's marketable right now. Someone overheard. Too much noise around her name. And not the good kind. Then she showed up at an open mic at the Hollow. A dive bar with a crooked stage and a mic that feeds back more than it works. I saw a clip on someone's story. She was wearing a leather jacket 2 sizes too big and singing an old cover. Her voice cracked once or twice. She smiled through it. But her eyes, they weren't smiling. They looked tired. Not from the grind, but from knowing she was too late to turn it around. Tanner? He had resurfaced in Miami, of all places. DJing under a new alias, spinning recycled samples at overpriced rooftop bars. Last I heard, he'd stiffed 2 collaborators and lost a hotel gig after a drunken rant about fake industry plants. Classic Tanner. Kaia's preemie ex? Vanished. Probably embarrassed to be dragged into the mess she left in her wake. She had no one left to blame but herself. And me? I started working with a young singer named Lena. She reminded me of Kaia in the very beginning, but with humility. She listened. She asked questions. She didn't treat me like a stepping stone. More like an anchor. We worked out of my home studio, just simple sessions, voice and piano, a guitar here and there. No pretense. One afternoon, Lena was reading lyrics I'd scribbled on a legal pad, and she asked, "Is this about someone specific?" I just smiled. It's about learning when to stop giving. She nodded, understanding more than I expected her to. That night, I found one of Kaia's old notebooks. It had fallen behind a shelf, pages full of half-finished lyrics, torn-out melodies, crossed-out dreams. On the back page, written in shaky pen, was a line that said, "What if I already passed the moment I was meant for?" It hit me harder than I wanted to admit. Because I remembered the version of her who filled notebooks like that in our kitchen, barefoot and messy, humming to herself while the rice boiled. That version? She could have had everything. If only she'd realized that being loved and being lifted were 2 different things. A week later, I saw her again. Not in person, in a photo someone tagged me in by accident. She was at a small local fair, performing on a temporary stage near the food stalls. A fold-out chair, a mic duct-taped to a stand, a portable speaker. She was smiling, singing to a group of distracted passers-by who were more interested in kettle corn than lyrics. But her eyes, this time, they looked present. Not haunted, not angry, just there. Maybe she found a different kind of peace. Or maybe she was just too tired to chase anymore. Either way, it wasn't my job to care. That chapter was written, recorded, mastered, and archived. I spent the next few weeks building new tracks. Spotless, muted glass, ghosts in reverse. Every one of them pulled pieces from my past, stripped down and rearranged. None of them sounded like Kaia. And that was the point. One night, while organizing old files, I found a folder labeled K&M Concepts. Our initials. Inside were demos we'd never finished. Projects that were meant to be our joint debut. I hovered over the play button, but didn't press it. Some ghosts sound better silent. Instead, I poured a whiskey, stepped onto the balcony, and watched the city blink beneath me. The skyline never looked like much when I was with her. Always just a blur between one gig and the next. Now it looked clear. Sharp. Full of rhythm. A notification lit up on my phone. Your latest track just hit 100K streams. No tags. No drama. Just good music. Sometimes, the loudest success comes after you stop trying to be seen. Sometimes, it comes when you finally walk away. I didn't expect to see her again, not really. But one night, nearly a year after she walked out of my studio in the rain, I ran into her at a late-night vinyl cafe downtown. I was there to catch up with an old friend from the label scene. just sipping coffee, flipping through record bins, killing time. And there she was, Kaia, sitting alone in the corner with a cheap notebook and a chipped mug of tea. Her hair was shorter now. No makeup, no handlers, no cameras, no curated glow. Just her. I nearly walked past, but she looked up at the exact moment I did, and froze. We didn't say anything at first. Then she smiled. Not the stage smile. The real one. The one I used to see when we'd write songs in our pajamas and eat ramen at 2 a.m. Hey, she said, soft as a vinyl crackle. Hey. I slid into the seat across from her. No ceremony. No tension. Just two people who used to be something, now sharing silence that didn't ache. She tapped her pen against the notebook. Working on something new, she said. Don't know what for. Just needed to write again. I nodded. That's good. It's not for streaming, she added. Not for posting. Just for me. I smiled. That's the best kind. She hesitated. You still making music? Yeah. Every day? Mostly with newer artists. Some film stuff. It's been good. I hear your stuff sometimes, she said, looking down. It's everywhere now. You're everywhere. That wasn't the plan, I said. Just happened. She looked up again. You're happier, aren't you? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I'm not chasing anything anymore. That helps. She exhaled, long and slow. I miss that version of you. The one who used to make beats on the couch, just for fun. He's still around, I said. He just stopped sharing them with the wrong audience. She winced a little. I deserve that. I'm not trying to hurt you. I know, but I still did. The cafe quieted. A record shifted to side B. A soft jazz saxophone filled the space between us. You ruined me, she said suddenly, her voice trembling but calm. But not the way I thought. You didn't scream. You didn't destroy me. You just let everything fall and let me see who I was when no one caught it. I nodded. You were the one who set the stage. I just didn't interrupt the show. We sat for another few minutes before I stood up. Take care, Kaia. You too. I walked out and didn't look back. Not because I hated her. Because I didn't need anything from her anymore. No apology. No closure. No new verse. The story was already written. The final chord had already faded. And I was on to the next track. That night, I got home and opened a new session in my DAW. I titled it The Last Verse. It wasn't about her. It was about finally making something without ghosts. A quiet beat, a slow rise, and a warm, soft fade. It didn't need words. Just peace. And that's how it ends. Not with revenge, not with regret, but with silence that finally feels earned.